This episode is brought to you by Generate Solutions, your go-to AI experts specializing in empowering commercial real estate companies and environmental consulting firms. As AI is quickly transforming industries and enhancing efficiency, it is important you don't let your business fall behind. At Generate Solutions, we streamline workflows and automate tasks by creating custom AI agents tailored specifically to your business needs. Interested in taking your operations to the next level with AI? Email mfiorante@generatesolutions.com or find us directly on LinkedIn by clicking the link in the bio. On to our episode.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of A Conversation with John Conenna. And today we go down that field that I truly love because I studied this in high school and in college. And it's the discussion of the speaker, the broadcast journalism, the historical part. And today we are going to be talking to a young lady that has really kind of thrilled me in a sense because of what she's doing, especially with some of the people she's portrayed and lectured. This is Michelle Gibbons, who'll be coming on our show this morning, and she has her website is Michelle Gibbons Presents, a historical presenter. The passion of this lies in the stories that go beyond teaching history. A good story connects us through time and periods. Michelle, what is going on with you, young lady? And thank you for coming on the show this morning.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, John, so much for having me. I appreciate it. Oh, there is a lot going on. I have so many new programs I'm launching this year. There's so many anniversary dates, historical anniversary dates that I kind of connect with my programs, which is really exciting. I have over 42, I think about 42 now, costume portrayals that I offer of women in history. I also have many, many lectures on historical people, events, places, things, you name it. I just might have it.
You know, I want to start by saying I want to thank two very close friends of mine, my childhood friend John Socha and his fiancee Susan Till, who came to see you at the Elk Grove Public Library when you did the portrayal of Anne Frank, which really touched them. And I think it was within 24 hours, they called me the next morning and told me, you want to interview Michelle Gibbons. I have to tell you, we are going to talk about, of course, how you got into these kind of things, the lectures, the portrayals, and everything else. I have to ask you this. We are going to talk about one lady, of course, that I know about in history that is coming up. I think you said to me off camera that the month of March is Women's Month.
Yes, Women's History Month. It's one of my busiest months of the year because every woman that I talk about is primarily a woman of history that has just such an interesting backstory. And March for Women's History Month, what better month could you ask for? It's
Exactly. And
it keeps me busy.
but before we talk about, we're going to talk about you first. We're going to talk about, of course, the legendary actress Marilyn Monroe and her upbringing, the 1950s, the 1960s to her passing. We'll touch on her later. But it just amazes me. I'm going to shoot out some names because you're not only doing the journalism part of this, you are doing also the portrayal. And, it takes a little bit of, do you think, acting? Because, when we're talking about people like Amelia Earhart, Anne Frank, who thank for the Anne Frank thing, we were able to, Betty White, Bonnie Parker, Carol Burnett, Elizabeth Taylor, Jacqueline Onassis, the First Lady, Judy Garland, Lucille Ball, and of course, Marilyn. And we could go on and on. And one of my favorites that we might touch on a little bit, of course, is that mother from the late 1950s and 60s, June Cleaver, who played the mother of Leave It to Beaver. And so, again, I was just fascinated by all these people that you portrayed. You are a graduate of Northern Illinois University, and of course, broadcast journalism, something that I was doing too. Um, Public speaker, historical presenter, historical portrayals. Where's, that passion to now start this, what you're doing now? You had it always in your mind?
So I actually, I didn't at first. I was kind of learning my way of, what I was going to do in my life. I knew just like you, I love journalism.
Mm.
I was a journalist for 15 years. I actually started in print journalism when I was 14 years old. I had an opportunity from one of my friends and classmates who said, Michelle, I know you're looking for a job. Have you thought about starting working at the farm side, which was a local newspaper? And from that, I kind of just, started working at many different local newspapers. Eventually, I worked for Worldwide Construction Magazine. I did a lot of freelancing. I was an editor and staff reporter for local startups that I worked on. And from there, it just kind of moved forward where eventually, after being a journalist for a while, I started working for a historical business, learning more about history and marketing. And then in 2019, I began doing lectures. And things started taking off with historical lectures. And I learned that journalism is, in a way, well, my skills can be used a lot with what I'm doing now because even
See,
though a lot of the people, are gone, passed away, I can't talk with them. It's research, it's learning, it's taking all that knowledge that I learned from journalism into what I'm doing today. In 2023, I was actually asked by the Geneseo Library, Claire, the director, asked me, she said, Michelle, I know that you're starting your own business doing presentations, Michelle Gibbons Presents, but have you thought about dressing up? And I said, Claire, I haven't, but if you want me to, I will. So
wow.
from then on, it just took off. And now I'm kind of working all over the place: Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, different states, libraries, park districts, seniors, living facilities, organizations, museums. It's been going great.
I got to tell you, you're not only doing the journalism, like I opened this up, and then of course you have to know your history, just like
Yeah.
I have to know a little bit about Michelle Gibbons, not as much as you have to know uh, what you're doing, but I got to know something about Michelle Gibbons. I just can't come on here and go, "Oh yeah, hi Michelle. What do you want to talk about today?" We can't do that. I need to know what
Yeah.
this is all about. I feel that you have had this were you really a good student of history, let's say the high school, the college years?
Yeah, I was very interested. I'm always interested in learning more about pretty much everything, and history has always been a passion of mine.
Right. To get and you, because you have to know what went on in during the years
Exactly.
of the Anne Frank, the Carol
Yep.
Burnett show. If we're going back to Carol Burnett, Amelia Earhart, you had to know that. So in 19, you really start, and then to do these portrayals. You got to dress up at Monroe. You got to dress up as Carol Burnett if you're going to be there
Oh,
with the
yes.
mop and the bucket and and her singing the song. I'm so glad we had this time,
I'm
together.
together. Yes.
you know, but it's amazing that you had that perseverance that you can do both because let's face it, 50 more than 75% of the people cannot do both because first of all, even to do something like this, some people are very shy to come on my show. Now you're doing a portrayal. You got to remember your facts during the portrayal. And I think that's what got to my friends John and Sue, that the Anne Frank thing was really good. How much time
Thank
goes
you.
in? Yeah, how much time does goes into these portrayals and lectures? What is the time effort of this?
Oh, a lot. So I'm always researching, always learning. Even when I launch a brand new program, the program might be different if you see it a year from now, or even a couple months from now, than it was when I originally started, because I'm always still researching new facts and new information, and I'm adding and taking things out. And it could take months. It could take some of them I've done for a year. And some people ask me, hey, could you come up with a topic real quick? And they give me a deadline. And well, I'll just keep pushing and researching as much as I can. And
Right. Exactly. Is it to the point where like when we talk about Carol Burnett, we talk about Elizabeth Taylor, Anne Frank, all these people. Do you pick up the people in the sense of, are you picking the guests, or are you told, Michelle, can you do this person get in history? How are these? Because these are I like all of them, and there were some that were just very surprising to me that you would do them. So how do you come up with this lineup? I'll say.
well, thanks for asking. So, with all of the people, a lot of the women in history started as lectures that I started talking about in business attire with slides. And then eventually I decided, well, I'm going to have them as costume portrayals because I already know the background information. I've been researching on them. And then many other topics. People have asked me, would you do this? Would you consider, doing a program on this person? I said, sure. And others I took from events. Like, for example, the a hippie from the 1969 Woodstock Music Festival. I do a program, a lecture on Woodstock, and I figured, well, I could add a woman in history, or at least make a fun story out of it and teach people history as well.
On the lecture side, uh, how do you depict between portrayal and lecture? For example, on the lectural side, you've had James Stewart, you've had Edgar Allan Poe, of course, you've had Charles Schurz and the Peanuts Gang. Uh, what again makes you depict? Okay, I'm going to do this one as the lecturer and this one as the portrayal. Is there a scheme in your mind of how you're going to go about this?
Well, I actually with it's the person who schedules the program. I ask them first question I always ask them, would you like a portrayal or would you like a lecture? And
Ah,
many of the topics you just mentioned, I don't tend to, portray men in history, so I portray the females. However, some of the events, I might do a female character, but a lot of like Robin Williams, Johnny Cash, I do programs on them just because I was so intrigued, and I love both of them, and many other lecture topics that I talk about as well. Robin Williams was actually one of the very first lecture topics that a program I created.
I have to tell you, thank you for bringing it up that way, because I have to tell you, I have gone after a market of it's as if it's the Michelle Gibbons, the historical presenter, the journalist, or I've gone after the athlete who maybe was famous here in Chicago. But everybody has a story to tell. Do you find like maybe when you did H. Holmes, the lecture, and then you go to do, let's say, Princess Diana, the lecture again, do you find, wow, I was at the I see that this Holmes got more views, or more people wanted to see Holmes over Diana, where, like, I used to say to myself, "Wow, I interviewed that Chicago Bear and a lot of people weren't into it. But now I interview Michelle Gibbons, who's got this great topic, and people wanted to see more of that." Do you get that balance and unbalance of these lecturers and portrayals when you're doing them from people?
Yes, good question. So yes, I do. It really depends on the area I'm in, the sometimes even the month or the topic. Some topics will get just a lot of people and interest, and others, it really depends on what people are interested in.
Right, right,
And I
right.
noticed that the really neat thing is the stories that people share with me about either how it affected them personally, if they know someone who knows that person, or maybe they knew that person. And it's very interesting to learn about why people wanted to go to program, why that topic interested them, and what kind of connection they might have with it. And sometimes it gets added into my portrayals. Like I have one on Betty White,
Yes.
and I was Betty White yesterday for Wintrust Bank. And Betty White, I met someone in Tennessee when I was doing programs in Tennessee, and he had the most wonderful story. I talk about Betty White being made a honorary forest ranger because that was something that was so interesting to her. She always wanted to be a forest ranger growing up. And one of the men I met in my audience surprised me, stood up and said, I'm the person who gave this award to Betty White. And it was just real neat. I'm another lady, another program that I had, again on Betty White, who said that she had been at a veterinary convention. And Betty White was there, and she had a picture with her that she actually framed for me, which was so nice. There's just so many people that have connections, which is really amazing to hear their stories. I love it.
Fantastic. And you got to absorb all this and and implement it in the thing. They ask you, I'm going to take two spectrums here.
Okay.
We're going to talk about here in a few minutes, Marilyn Monroe, but let's take the two spectrums. June Cleaver, the 1956 to 1964 mom, who's in that suburbia home, cooking, cleaning, waiting for Ward to get home. And now we have Marilyn Monroe, the lady that
Oh,
every man desired. I'll put that way. And of course, she was the limelight of the 1950s and 60s in Hollywood. How does a Michelle Gibbons, this is the part I want you to know, young lady, that is fantastic. How does a Michelle Gibbons one night, let's say, I'll make up the venue. You're in St. Charles at the Arcada, go from June Cleaver on a Thursday night, and then on a Saturday morning, you got to be Marilyn Monroe. Ooh,
oh yeah.
you're talking about culture shock. How do you do it? Because you were just June Cleaver making a dinner, a roast for Ward and the boys, and now you got to be Marilyn. Is it hard for you? What goes into it?
Honestly, I love it. I get to be stepping into someone else's shoes all the time.
Right,
And I never know who I'm going to be one day to the next, right?
right,
But
right,
it's fun.
right.
I love getting into their stories, learning about the person, and then switching characters. It's for me, it's okay. One day, like you said, I might be June Cleaver, and the next I'm Marilyn Monroe, but I can, as long as I have a little bit of time in between to remember who I am, it's fun. I love it. I love learning about each of these women in history and really getting into their shoes and just getting into their minds. What were they
Mhm.
thinking? What were they feeling at the time?
Right, right.
What does the audience want to know about them too? What intrigues them about this person in history?
And when we're not to stay on the theme of June Cleaver, when you have the June Cleaver in mind, you're remembering. I mean, I'm sure the reruns when it was Barbara Billingsley, the
Yes,
actress who
yes,
played her perfectly. That mother, Suburbia, 1957 to the 60s, right? Exactly. That
yes.
is just fantastic because that, Michelle, I don't know if anybody's ever come up to you and said this, but just doing the little bit of the research on you, and then of course knowing about the Anne Frank thing, I says, wow, again, you got to know the history. You got to know who you're talking about. And now you've got to portray this Anne Frank look from the 1930s, 1940s wartime situation. Um, I have to ask you, did you ever think at this point in your life, let's say from 2019 to now, which is the one you like to do better if you had to put a favorite on it? Is it the lecture or is it the portrayal? Which one do you look
Ooh.
forward to in that sense of, all right, I'm going to do Monroe tonight. I'm going to do Carol Amelia Earhart tomorrow. I'm going to do a lecture on Johnny Cash. What is
Oh,
the
yeah.
one is your favorite?
Oh, I love them all, honestly. I really, really do.
Yeah,
It's hard. If you told me, Michelle, tomorrow you have to choose. You can only do lectures or you can only do portrayals. I don't think I could choose. I really love them both. But I do have, I guess, most popular topics that are booked for each of my lectures and also of my portrayals. And some of my most popular ones that are fun to do. Judy Garland is probably my number one. I talk about Judy Garland and the making of the Wizard of Oz. And for my portrayal, I dress up as Dorothy, and it's a lot of fun. Also, Betty White is another one of my most populars, Anne Frank as well, Carol Burnett, Lucille Ball, Marilyn Monroe is definitely a popular one. And my lectures, Johnny Cash, Robin Williams, Charles Schultz, and also my serial killer lectures are some of the most
yeah.
popular ones that I have too. So I kind of have a wide variety and I love switching off on everything, on different topics. And yeah, it's fun.
I'm going to say this. Um, I I wanted to do this podcast, but I says, in order to keep doing this, I have to have variety. At first, I went into the notion of maybe just doing a sports figure because I was a hockey coach here in the state of Illinois for so many years. But then again, I says, who is John Conenna? Let's make this an open variety. And I feel that, the way you're doing this is fantastic because there's a variety here. I mean, when I opened this up, I was like, wow, this reminds me of my lineup of guests. And I really, truly enjoyed it. Yeah.
Thank you.
What is right now your plan for the future with this before we talk about Marilyn Monroe?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. So I just want to keep building. I
Okay.
want to keep adding to my list of women in history that I portray, adding to my list of lectures, and just keep pretty much traveling all over the place. If I can, I'd love to travel to everywhere all over the nation, maybe other countries someday. That would be my ultimate goal. I love it. It's fun.
Fantastic. And have you been noticed in other states, have you been noticed where someone says, Michelle, we would like to have you, let's say out here in New York or let's say in Michigan. Have you been noticed in that sense?
So I mainly, as far as traveling to the location in person, because I do in person and virtual programs.
Great.
I've been to Wisconsin, Indiana, Iowa, Minnesota, Tennessee in person. But I also travel to other places all over the United States virtually. So that's fun. And I
That is
will go in person if they want me. If they want to book me, I'm very interested. I'm always looking for new opportunities and new programs.
Before we go off the air today, we are going to get your website out to the people before we go off and everything else, and what will be the easiest way to get a hold of you and everything else. Let's talk
Excellent.
about a portrayal that I'm really interested in that you're doing is of Marilyn Monroe. Now you're going to be are you doing her in March or later in the year?
Oh, yes, I have many different Maryland portrayals. I actually wrote a few down that I wanted to talk with you about.
Yes.
So some of the big bigger highlighted ones, because I have many different Maryland Portrayals private parties as well. But August 8th at 6 p.m., historic attractions in Roscoe, which is wonderful. They're a amazing history museum with lots of different exhibits. I've worked with them many times in the past. They're having their 25th anniversary of the museum, and it's also the 64th anniversary of the death of Marilyn Monroe. So I will be there August 8th. It's the same week that she had passed away, and I'll be there portraying Marilyn by the Marilyn Monroe exhibit that they're having, that they have displayed throughout the year. Also, September 17th, I will be at the Gail Borden Library in Elgin. I'm going to be dressed as Marilyn for a 6:30 p.m. program. There's actually going to be a costume exhibit that they're having from September through October. And one of the costumes they're including is a Marilyn costume. June 1st, on the 100th anniversary of Marilyn Monroe's birthday, I'm going to be at the Cary Area Library in Cary, Illinois at 7 p.m., portraying Marilyn. Also, I'll be at the St. Charles Park District at noon for a luncheon, portraying Maryland. And I also have many other places I'll be. The Village of Willowbrook, March 23rd at 1 p.m.
Wow.
Oakton College and Skokie and June 16th, and the Cherry Valley Library in Cherry Valley, Illinois, excuse me, June 18th at 10:30 a.m. So I have many different Maryland portrayals, and I'm still booking. I'm still booking Maryland portrayals for all of 2026 and 2027.
This is great. Thank you for saying it so clearly, those dates, so people come back and look at the our interview. Remember to listen into how she clearly said these dates, but that first one is going to be August 8th. Just if for my thing, where is Roscoe?
So Roscoe is actually out about 30 minutes away from me. It's pretty close. I live in Pecatonica, Rockford area, and it's about 30 minutes from there. Roscoe, Rockton, Rockford area,
The Rockford
Illinois.
area. Great, great.
Yeah.
Okay. That might be maybe a closer one for me because I would love to see that.
Oh,
Monroe.
excellent.
Why you
Yes.
choose Monroe? And of course, I did read a little bit of a bio that you put up on all these guests, by the way, when people go on the Michelle's websites, which is Michelle Gibbons Presents. She had a troubled childhood, correct?
Oh, yes. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe, when people think about her, they think, wow, I would love to have her life, right? Many people think because she was a Hollywood star, she's absolutely gorgeous, the blonde bombshell, she had all the fame and fortune. Her childhood was absolutely tragic.
Yeah.
She's she had struggles, to say the least. Something Marilyn, I think, could have used more of was just someone to listen to her and a hug.
Right.
She she was born as Norma Jean Mortensen, and the interesting thing is Norma Jean Mortensen was the name that her mother, Gladys Pearl Baker, gave her because she was married to a man named Martin Edward Mortensen, whose name had an E in it, but she would switch on the birth certificate to Marilyn, well, Norma Jean Mortensen's name with an O because Martin Edward Mortensen wasn't her real father. And what happened was Norma Jean, who would later become Marilyn Monroe, would find out that Charles Stanley Gifford was her father. How she found this out was her mother had this big picture of Charles Stanley Gifford in her room. And Norma Jean would look at that photo and say, "Wow, that man looks like Clark Gable. He's so handsome. Is that my daddy?" And she would just, in something in the back of her mind, told her that maybe he was. And Gladys would say, no, Norma Jean. First, she'd say, no, that's not your father. Your father's dead. And then later she would tell her, well, that is your father, but he died. Well, Norma Jean, Marilyn Monroe, she was actually very intelligent. People portray her as a dumb blonde, which a lot in the movies in Hollywood they did. That was the image that she had. But she had a very high IQ. She was very smart, always reading, always watching things around her, what was going on. And she even noticed as a young girl, this man, he is my father. I'm pretty sure he's my father. And when she became Marilyn Monroe, she would call him and he would say, if you want to talk with me, you can talk with me through my lawyers. I have a family, I have a wife and children. I want nothing to do with you. I'm sorry. And that affected her for all of her life. She was bounced in foster care, orphanages. Her mother suffered from something that they called the family curse, which was paranoid schizophrenia. And this was something that horrified Marilyn, but she
Sure.
loved her mother very, very much. But she was always worried that she would get that curse later on too. And she saw how it affected her mother and how it affected her childhood. She had so many
Sure.
things happen. She was abused as a young child too, and that gave her a stutter. So that was something I wanted to mention too, is her voice, her whispery voice. That was something that was created years prior because she needed to learn to speak slowly so that she could get her words out without stammering because she had developed a stutter after something traumatic that happened to her.
Sure.
So there's a lot of
It was that
Maryland
shock.
history.
Yeah, it was that shock.
Yeah.
Michelle, this tidbit, and of course, I, like you said, I know the dates that are coming up for, but I do want to talk about her. It really brings it into perspective here in the first 5 minutes of your discussion here today, because I didn't know about the stutter, the fear, because that they do say that it is a shock when this happens to the system, especially in here at shock during the voice. You know, not to jump ahead and everything else, but the men that came into her life, meaning, let's say Joe
Yeah.
DiMaggio, Arthur
Yeah.
Miller, and then how did she get the name Marilyn Monroe?
Oh, great question. So Marilyn Monroe was something that was made in many, many ways. Her name would, as soon as she received that name, she'd become a different person. Marilyn was a name that was given to her by 20th Century Fox executive Ben Lyon. He would sit her down as Norma Jean Baker, which she went by later instead of Norma Jean Mortensen. And he said, Norma Jean Baker, I'm sorry, but that's not a movie star's name. I need something that rolls off the tongue. That sounds like a movie star. And I knew this beautiful girl that looked very much like you, that was an up and coming star, and her name was Marilyn. What do you think of that name? She said, Marilyn, I like that. But Marilyn Baker wouldn't work. Neither would Marilyn Mortensen. She needed something that would really fit together nicely. So she would go by her mother's maiden name of Monroe. And there she would become
Oh, wow.
Marilyn Monroe. And according to Marilyn Monroe herself, or Norma Jean, she was able to separate the two, almost two women or two different people that she had to become. Norma Jean was a very vulnerable person that had all this trauma in her life. And Marilyn Monroe, when she would step into being Marilyn Monroe, well, she could just escape everything for a while, escape everything going on in her life, get out of her head and just feel like being a star. But even she would see Marilyn Monroe had a lot of, well, issues she had to overcome as well, many obstacles. She was always facing obstacles in her life.
Right. And I have to say this, we mentioned, Matt, of course, she was always kind of connected to the Sinatra, Frank Sinatra, Peter Lawford, Joey
Oh yeah.
Bishop, Sammy Davis Jr., all those gentlemen at the time. Even there were rumors of Humphrey Bogart, the great actor. I felt, and correct me if I'm wrong, that men wanted to control her, but I really do believe. I mean, she was so beautiful that you thought, okay, well, maybe as that man, I think the man was insecure because he didn't know how to handle this beautiful, like we said, bombshell of a woman. But they didn't know the things that you just brought up, that she was an intelligent woman that needed probably the right man that really never understood her. And I feel she was taken advantage of, especially from the 1950s till her death. I mean, your recollections of that.
So I completely agree with that. I think with many men, they saw Marilyn as she would say too, an object, not as a human being, not as who she was, really what she had gone through. And
Sure.
the one person I would say though, honestly, even though they had a roller coaster relationship and there was a lot of things that happened, Joe DiMaggio. Joe DiMaggio, from what I've read, really truly loved her.
Yes.
And and they did have a lot of fights and things that happened, but his main goal originally when they got married was to try to help her. Even at the very end of her life, he wanted to somehow get her away from Hollywood, all the contracts. I mean, they had her have things like rhinoplasties and chin implants and change her hair 13 different shades of blonde and everything she did from the lipstick to the outfits. It was all controlled by Hollywood. Everything she said, everything she felt like Marilyn was Hollywood, but Joe DiMaggio saw Norma Jean. Joe DiMaggio, she was able to open up about that vulnerability and how she wanted to be seen as Norma sometimes and as Marilyn others. And Joe DiMaggio, I felt, saw that, but he also didn't know how to properly either help her to escape or help her to kind of mesh both of these together and what to do. And it bothered him so much. And it bothered her because that's the main thing that they fought about was Hollywood. And even until the day she died, he wanted control of the funeral, too,
Yes.
as well. Yeah, he wanted to
Incredible.
make sure that it was private.
I have to tell you, I think DiMaggio is the Italian, of course, stardom of his career with the New York Yankees. He wanted, and perfectly said by you, the perfect wife. He
Yes.
wanted the June Cleaver at home. He wanted the lady that he could bring to the Copacabana in New York who looked like her. He wanted it all. But I think in his mind, you said it perfectly. He couldn't figure out why he couldn't get this from her. And that was beautifully said. And listen, I'm not going to break up I want the people to come out to your things before we get into a whole podcast about Marilyn Monroe. But young lady, you have done a tremendous job with research and everything else. And I hope
Thank
today
you.
my questions were good too, because I didn't want you to come in here saying, oh my God, John didn't know what he was talking about. This was really a great 5 minutes on this legendary actress and, of course, career. I'm going to
Thank
ask you
you.
a couple of questions because I want my audience to get to know you a little better. It's kind of a fun thing. So
Okay.
we want to get to know Michelle Gibbons a little bit better, and then I'm going to let you go because today this is great what we did here, and this is going to get out there to the people and everything else. And like I says, we're going to go back and remind the people at the end about your website and some upcoming dates. I'm going to ask
Thank
you,
you.
since you're this historical person and the the journalism and everything else in history, let's talk about Michelle Gibbons. What's a movie, Michelle Gibbon, give me one or two that she could watch 200 times and not get bored?
Oh, there are so many movies out
All right,
there
I'm going to give you
that I
three.
love, but three, all right. So I would say The Wizard of Oz. That's a classic. I could never get bored of that. Oh, Over the Rainbow, just such a beautiful song of Judy Garland. Judy Garland's amazing. Walk the Line. I love Johnny Cash, June
Yes,
Carter Cash, their love story. It's a Wonderful Life, too, for the holidays, Jimmy Stewart. And if I could throw in one more, Hook
sure.
by with Robin Williams. It was a favorite of mine as a child and still is today. It's just a
Wow.
great.
Michelle, you really are an old soul in the sense of you brought up the movies from John Conenna's past. You know,
Oh, thank
that's
you. Yeah.
great. That's great. And please, I will want to know more about Judy Garland because she had a show on CBS when I was a young boy growing up called the Judy Garland Show, when
Oh,
she
yeah.
was married to Vincenzo Minelli. They're her husband, I think, at that time. And her show is fantastic. Matter of fact, 20 years ago, I bought a box set of that show. She had incredible guests like Dean Martin, who was part of that Rat Pack that I failed to mention, Frank Sinatra. I mean, she had some unbelievable, what an actress in her life, too, getting cut short through the pressures of what she had to go through, like a Marilyn Monroe. Um,
Yes.
Question for you. What's
Mhm.
that song that when you're in the car or you're by yourself and you're having that day, you need to pick me up? What's the Michelle Gibbons? Give me one or two song that gets her going.
Oh, I have so many songs. I love Over the Rainbow. It's a classic for
Okay.
Judy Garland's song. I think no matter what, if you're having a bad day, if you're having a good day, if you're having a bad day, there's something out there that, will lift you up. You'll always have those mountains you got to climb and obstacles you got to overcome and keep going on forward. Keep positive and you'll be able to overcome them. I think that song just always reminds me that because Judy
Mhm.
Garland, that was something that touched her heart too. She had so much to overcome
Oh,
in her life, so many things, and her life was cut short at 47,
yeah.
sadly, which
What a
so
talent. What a talent she was also, Judy Garland. Again, like we had mentioned here. All right.
sad.
What is the go-to meal if it's with a significant other, if it's with children that you have, parents, whatever? What's the go-to meal for a Michelle Gibbons? What is her favorite food? Could be junk
Oh,
food,
I
could be.
so I love pizza, actually. I would say gluten-free pizza, because I have to watch my gluten, but I love pizza, all kinds of pizza.
There is a pizzeria that buys airline tickets from me. I think they're on the border of Belvedere and Rockford. They just opened. It's called Ocello's. They just opened, and but I hear there's some really good pizzerias out your way that Chicagoans don't know about. So we might have to traipse over there one day for a lunch or something.
Yeah, that
That's
sounds
my
great.
favorite too. Oh my God, Michelle, fantastic. All right, I'm going to ask you this last question. Well, let me ask you this before I ask you the last question. What is a portrayal or a lecture that Michelle Gibbons has not done yet and is planning to do it and give us the surprise? Is there one that you want? God, I want to do that portrayal lecture. Which one is it? What's your thought
Ooh.
for the future?
So I oh, I have so many. I would have to I that's a really good question. I love new topics, I guess, when people just throw out new topics to me that, hey, could you do this one? Recently, and these aren't even historically based, but I had so much fun with these. I was Cupid last month. In December, I was Mrs. Claus, and those are ones that I'm able to create because I love creative writing. I put on my own, as I do with all my presentations, put on my own plays. But those I like to crack jokes and kind of do comedy skits in. So it's fun. I never know who I'll be one day to the next, and I love it. I just love it.
Okay, I'm gonna last question, and I'm gonna say something about you. Um, you've gotten to this point, and it's a really good point. Like I says, when I went to the website, and then when I researched you, and then I saw these portrayals and lectures, we mentioned a lot of them here today. If Michelle Gibbons, even though it's a young start, you're into this career almost for so many years now. Are you glad you did it? And if you had to do it all over again, are you doing it all over the same way?
Yes. Thank you for asking. I would definitely do it all over again. It's been just an amazing journey, and I want to keep going until I can't anymore. I
Beautiful,
love it.
beautiful, beautiful. The passion is in your face, young lady. I see it. I wish I
Thank
could
you.
do it with you there. All right, I'm going to say this about you because it's right in front of me when I did the research on you. And this is what Michelle Gibbons is all about. I believe history isn't just told, it should be vividly experienced. My passion lies in captivating audiences nationwide with riveting educational and motivational historical portrayals and lectures. And I want to tell you today, Michelle Gibbons, and even when I found out from my friends, John and Sue, you have captivated John Conenna. And I want to thank you for coming on a conversation with him, John Conenna, today. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much. And please tell your friends I said thank you so much too. They were wonderful to meet at the Elk Grove Village Public Library. And
Yeah, they're
I'll
great.
be back at Elk Grove Village too later.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
We're
so
gonna
much,
stay
John.
in
It's
touch.
wonderful.
Oh no, yeah, we're gonna stay in touch. I'm gonna get this out. This will go out on YouTube and Spotify in about 2 days tops. It'll go out on YouTube and Spotify for everyone to see. And this I really thank you for this interview. You'll see the interview with Michelle Gibbons, and of course, go to her website, which is Michelle Gibbons Presents. And Michelle, is there any other thing that you would like to say about how to get in touch with you and how to see what you do?
Oh, thank you so much, John. Yes, so michellegibbonspresents.com. You can contact me through my website. You can also look on my website. There's my email and my cell phone number. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm just newly on Instagram. Please check the libraries because I'm always at different libraries all over the place, park districts, senior centers. And if you'd like to get in contact with me and you're an organization or a library or a group, please feel free to contact me. I'm always looking to schedule at new places and continuing places.
Great. All right. We have visited today with Michelle Gibbons, a historical presenter, public speaker, and of course, she does lectures, portrayals, and a young lady that is really something you would like to see. This has been a fantastic day for me. Thank you so much, Michelle, and have a good day.
Thank you. You as well, John.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.